plan was to leave a little bit earlier so I could get down here for Racing Across America, but to give myself some time. By the time I had showered, dressed, and gotten out to the car, there was a touch of snow. But by the time I got down in the Northway towards past Clifton Park and closer to Albany, it was really starting to come down. So, and that was the prediction today, that it was unclear exactly when things were going to start, but once they started, and when we got to 9, 10, 11 o'clock, it would be coming down, and it was already, if you're inside and you have plans, and it was getting a little sloppy. Now they say it's at some point early in the afternoon it ends, and by then you would expect things to be cleaned up and whatnot. But it's one of those situations where if you don't have to, maybe stick around and fire us up on your tablet or your computer and play during the afternoon here. But as I say, we had Zoomed Handicappers Report thinking, okay, that'll give me a little extra time to get in the morning. But Brian did Gulfstream, I did Aqueduct. Aqueduct has canceled. So now that I with the early start to get down here, I'm sitting here. So I said, well, let me jump in and I'll do some Tampa live. But canceled today, Aqueduct, Laurel, Saratoga, Harness, and Pocono have been canceled for today. So as I say, I'll jump in with a little Tampa. And this could be a little bit dicey because of the weather too. And before I came on, I pulled up Marty McGee's. I was trying to get Marty on the show this morning, and he had some other things. I tried to get Ren Carruthers a little bit later on Racing Across America, and she was tied up. Big day obviously down at Tampa. But coming up at the top of the hour, Steve Bick is down at Tampa, and so we'll check in with him. Maybe we'll get a weather update from him, and I'll also have Bob Ehalt on the show. There's a nice race at Oaklawn that he had handicapped for the America's Best Racing website. So I thought Cece is coming back, going 2 turns. The Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint winner last year, the Filly Mare Eclipse Sprint champion, comes back at 2 turns in the Azeri down at Oaklawn. So we'll talk a little bit about that on Racing Across America as well. But as I say, I pulled up Marty McGee's Twitter feed, and 15 minutes ago or so, he writes, "Blinding rain and heavy winds just hit 10 minutes ago here in Oldsmar at Tampa Bay Downs. Rough weather is supposed to pass a bit later today, but pretty scary at the moment." So we'll see how weather works out. Dave Grenig had also tweeted yesterday that Chad plans to scratch money supply from the Tampa Bay Derby, combination of the post and the expected weather, and he also expects to scratch Bleecker Street out of the Hillsborough due to likely soft ground. So again, I don't know whether those have been confirmed, but that was from Dave Grenig. He talked to Chad Brown yesterday. Bleecker Street and money supply maybe likely to be out today. So we'll factor that in. Turf races, I'll give some dirt picks as well, but I'll jump in, do a little Tampa now that Aqueduct has canceled. The opener at Tampa on this Saturday is a starter handicap, 7 furlongs the trip, and in the opener at Tampa on Saturday afternoon, I have a 3, 4, 5, and 1. And I did just check to see Twitter or the website to see if Tampa had made a decision. That's why I also checked Marty McGee and some of the other logical sources, and I haven't seen anything where they have stated one way or the other whether they're still on the turf or not. Their turf races are those stakes races later in the day. So theoretically, if the weather stops by then, they can stay on the turf, knock wood, fingers crossed. So we'll hope. But again, as we get to the turf races, I'll toss out some dirt picks as well. But the first race on the main track, again, 3, 4, 5, and 1. We'll put Don't Get Cozy on top. Antonio Santos ships this one over from Gulfstream. Jose Ortiz in town to ride some of the stakes action. He'll be on board this horse. Comes in off a nice bullet work just a week ago. I think the horse is in good form, as evidenced by the work. I think is going to be a solid fit with this group in here. Jose Ortiz is a bonus, and so I'll give that one a little bit of an edge. Nightcap in the second spot. Tried a stakes race here at Tampa last time and didn't fare that well. But the optional claiming start 2 back was very good. I'm going to look to get back closer to that, which I think is more in line with this horse's typical talent. So Nightcap in the mix, and Tap Dance Fever. It's Gerald Bennett. It's Sammy Camacho, a couple of top players down there at Tampa Bay Downs, and it's a horse with a lot of early speed. I'm not sure this horse will be the speed of the speed. There are two or three others in here that I think can challenge, but to me, this is the likely speed. Maybe Nightcap, but this horse does have some early speed. Yeah, but again, it's hard to say who's gonna be the one to go out and really get the lead. I don't. Well, upshot is, I don't know whether anybody is gonna speed pop this group, but this is the one that maybe stands that opportunity. But I don't. It's hard to see that kind of playing out. But regardless, will be prominent early and throughout. And again, stepping out of the stakes try last time could be a little bit interesting for the potent jockey trainer team. In the opener at Tampa, kicking off early pick 4 action. And again, the picks, because of the card today with some extra races, the pick plays are a little bit different in the sequence than they would normally be. So this opener at Tampa is going to kick off pick 4 action. I have a 3, 4, 5, and 1. Second race at Tampa this afternoon. It's an optional claimer, non-winners of 2. 6.5 furlongs. I have a 2, 7, 6, and 1. Upwood Cajun Casanova on top. Just in good form with some nice improving numbers over the past few starts. Nice win in an optional claimer. Pretty similar event. 2 starts back. Then they got ambitious and popped this one in the stakes race. Ran an okay 4th. Pablo Morales has been on board the last few starts, but Luis Saez jumps on board today. So again, I think it's a horse that number-wise is moving in the right direction, stepping out of stakes company into a spot where the horse won a couple of starts back and looks like a logical player in with this group. Self-taught in the second spot, Irad Ortiz on board. Another one where the last start doesn't maybe get my juices flowing, but you go back 2, 3, 4, 5 starts. This horse has been running very well over at Gulfstream, so makes a little bit of a venue move, picks up Irad Ortiz this afternoon, and should be a solid player. And then Jeopardy James in the third spot. Last couple of races, they were at Parks. One of them was on a sloppy track. There will clearly be some moisture in the track down at Tampa today, so the sloppy track, the nice sloppy track performance bodes well. It's Arnaud Delacour, and again, that they shipped down off of December and a January start at Parks to try this company is intriguing as well. The second at Tampa, which kicks off pick 5 action. This is an early pick 5 at Tampa, starting in race number 2. I have a 2, 7, 6, and 1. Tampa's third, we're looking at maiden claimers going 3/4 of a mile. I have it 8, 2, 4, and 5. We'll put Runaway Tom on top. Showed some early speed before fading, excuse me, in the debut. Kathleen O'Connell, she's having a very good meet down there. This one should benefit from that, having shown the speed and faded, and now gets a little dose of class relief as well. I would expect an improved performance from Runaway Tom. Street Lamp in the second spot. Seems to have appreciated the move down to Tampa. Started the career last summer at Belterra. Laid off from the July debut until February and had a couple of starts last month down here at Tampa. And there were a couple of okay efforts. Nice improvement from the first start back to the second start back. This is now the third start back, and we add the blinkers. So the horse should be primed for a good run. And then El Fantasma in the third spot. Again, last couple of starts since arriving at Tampa were pretty good, comparatively speaking. But they fit nicely with this bunch, certainly. That's my boy toy, the 5 horse. I could make a case there as well. Lightly raced with only a couple of starts under the belt. Good improvement, start 1 to start 2. Gets the 7-pound apprentice on board again today. And again, with only the couple of starts and moving in the right direction. Outstanding Island goes for Mike Deeney. I thought that horse was perhaps a little bit interesting at a price, the 3 horse, if you wanted to consider some other horses, and it's that kind of race where I think you can. Classic Empire, the sire of Classic Escape, the number 12 at 12 to 1. Didn't live up to any win early kind of breeding in the debut, but did take a little action there. Now gets hung outside a little bit, but should be okay. if you want to take a look at that 12, I could make a case there as well. I have an 8, 2, 4, and 5, but as I indicated, I think there are 2 or 3 others that are kind of interesting as well in the third race. Fourth race at Tampa on this Saturday afternoon. We're bottomish level conditional claimers going 3/4 of a mile. I have it 9, 10, 7, and 2. I thought the 8 was perhaps intriguing as well. Captain for Kathleen O'Connell with Antonio Gallardo on board. Gets a little class relief, 6-1. So again, if this horse is a little bit of a price, just wanted to toss that out as one that I wouldn't argue against the 8. But I have it again, 9, 10, 7, and 2 with the 9 Jimmy the Kid on top. The aforementioned Gerald Bennett and Sammy Camacho, the potent team, add the blinkers today. The horse is running blinkers previously as recently as 2 and 3 starts back, and a couple of starts back, a good second place finish against 16 claimers. Then they tried 25 claimers last time. Now they dropped down to 8. And it just has the look of, they're being realistic. They claimed the horse, 5 starts? Yeah, 5 starts back at Delaware. Since arriving down in Tampa, they have a second and a third, so they put a little money in the bank, and they've tested the waters at various levels. And as they say, I think they're just kind of being realistic and saying this is where the horse belongs. They get a win, and the horse gets claimed away. I think with the money in the bank already, they're in a decent spot, you would have to think. Sea Power in the second slot, 8-1 on the morning line. Another one that's getting some class relief that could prove beneficial. Broke the maiden 2 back at 10. Then they bounced up to 16. They cut that price in half now. The maiden breaker was clearly good enough to fit with this group. And I think with the move down the claiming ladder, we stand a good chance of getting back to that performance. Acthem, the 7 horse in the third spot, also getting some class relief, cutting the price in half this afternoon. And the last few starts, kind of uninspiring. But you look at the numbers a little bit down the page, including 2 of the last 3. They fit nicely with this group. And I think, again, the class relief is going to prove beneficial. In the fourth at Tampa, 9, 10, 7, and 2. And as I said earlier, I think the 8, a little bit intriguing as well. Fifth race on Saturday afternoon. Another pick 4, mid-card pick 4, starting in race 5. Maiden special 3-year-olds going a mile and 40. And again, we shall see who stays in and who goes out if the weather is inclement down at Tampa. But if things hold up, Command Performance will be a lot of fun to watch. I have it 8, 6, 7, and 2. And as is the case at most racetracks on big days like this, with a big 3-year-old race, the undercard is filled with either some nice 3-year-old allowance races or maybe like this, a 3-year-old maiden race. And Command Performance goes out for Todd Pletcher, Mike Rapoli and company. Debuted up at Saratoga and ran, an okay second in the debut. They were ambitious enough out of that to try the Champagne as a maiden in the second start, and the horse runs a pretty good second to Jack Christopher. From that, the horse is still a maiden. Couple of starts, couple of second place finishes, including the second in the Grade 1 Champagne. So they say, why not go out to Del Mar and try the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? They ran 4th. So again, they had very high expectations. Now they come back, blinkers on, LASIKs on, 4th career start, 3-year-old debut, coming out of a second in the Champagne and a 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But it's still a maiden, so they tried Maiden Special Company at Tampa. We will see, though, again, if the weather's inclement, wouldn't shock me if some of these higher profile horses elect other spots. But Command Performance will be fun to watch if he shows up today at Tampa. Second spot, Piccadilly. Shug McGahee runner is making the 3-year-old debut off a couple of starts last year as a 2-year-old that were ho-hum. But by into mischief, won't surprise me if this horse pops with a little bit of a break and now coming back as a 3-year-old. And XL, who showed nice improvement start 1 to start 2 number-wise. And I think the numbers stack up pretty nicely with those in the field that have run other than Command Performance. You really have to move those numbers up to get there. But I think XL fits with the rest of the bunch. In the 5th at Tampa, again, we'll see if Command Performance goes. But if so, be fun to watch. And I did a podcast this week, and I will tout it if you want to go listen to it. Better Betting with Eric Rubin and Gary Quill. They invited me to come on and talk about the Tampa all stakes pick 5, including the Tampa Bay Derby. So if you have Google Better Betting and Eric Rubin, Gary Quill, you'll be able to pull up the podcast. It was fun conversation. But we were talking about the races, and we talked a little bit about this and the 6th race, which has an interesting horse too. And I said, kind of fun races, and one of the hosts said, fun to watch, not necessarily fun to bet. And yeah, the Command Performance is going to be a very short price, but if he goes, it'll just be fun to see a potential, a 2-year-old who had shown a little promise, and we'll see what can happen in the first start of the 3-year-old season. On the other hand, we have a maiden that will be very fun to watch, potentially in race number 6. Again, with horses like this and inclement weather, you don't know whether they'll show or not, but I have it 9, 6, 2, and 12, and the number 9 is Gina Romantica. Goes out for Chad Brown and Peter Brandt. They paid over $1 million for this horse as a yearling. This horse is a sibling to Gift Box. You may remember Gift Box won the 2019 Big Cap, started the career with some nice talent. There was another sibling called Stone-tastic that won the career debut and was a multiple stakes winner. So if this $1 million yearling purchase goes, the 6th race will be fun too. Gina Romantica on top. 2nd slot, Birthday Time, Todd Pletcher firster. There's a sibling called Aquam that won in its 2nd start, so I think there's a little win early there. And La Casa de Oro for Christophe Clement. Debut was okay. I mean, it was a 5th place finish in a field of 7. It wasn't much, but it was one of those that's a foundation you would think to build on. So the 6th to Tampa, 9, 6, 2, and 12. And with the time, I'll just keep plowing through here and continue on for the last 6 races as well, because we now kick off that all stakes pick 5. And again, we will have to see how this plays out. Hopefully, boy, these are really nice turf stakes, but we'll see if it holds up on the turf or not. Tampa's 7th is the Hillsborough. Grade 2 event, $225,000, scheduled 1.1 miles on the grass. It kicks off an all stakes pick 5 in race 7. Should it go over to the dirt, I have it 9, 5, 4, and 2. Nantucket Red had a nice dirt win, 2 starts back in a stake here at Tampa. So on the dirt, 9, 5, 4, and 2. On the turf, I had it 5, 3, 7, and 6. But as I mentioned earlier, it hasn't been confirmed yet. But Dave Grenick had talked to Chad Brown yesterday. Sounds like Bleecker Street may come out. If he's in, I really like Lady Spitespear in the last 2 starts, including the Endeavor last time. Started the career Lady Spitespear, the 3-horse, 4 for 4 up in Canada for Roger Atfield. Debuted south of the border on the move to Gulfstream the end of December in the Tropical Park Oaks. Went off the favorite, a close-up 3rd, then came over to the Endeavor here on February 5th. I liked Lady Spitespear that day at 4 to 5, and she could not hold off the oncoming Bleecker Street for Chad Brown and Peter Brandt. So off of that, I went for Bleecker Street over Lady Spitespear. We'll see as far as the scratch situation. I was talking again with the guys on the podcast and looking. Great point was made that Lady Spitespear may just have kind of a pace advantage in here, and it might be tough to reel in, particularly if Bleecker Street goes out and Lady Spitespear stays, and it stays on the turf. But we'll see. Runaway Rumor, interesting. Rocky Sky would have been the longer half of the Chad Brown entry, also going out for owner Peter Brandt. So I just found it interesting that Peter Brandt and Chad Brown were going to take a shot with Rocky Sky as well. Kind of wondered, not off the United States race, but off the running lines in Europe, where you see led 3 furlongs in, keen, close up. Wonder if they were going to maybe try to challenge Lady Spitespear early with that one. We'll see. Again, scratches and whatnot will make a difference. But should it be on the turf in the 7th at Tampa, 5, 3, 7, and 6. On the dirt, 9, 5, 4, and 2. 8th race at Tampa, it is the Challenger. Grade 3 event, $100,000 up for grabs, 1 1/16. I'm going to take a little shot with Scalding. has won the last two starts and has done it in pretty fine fashion, including last time a win right here at Tampa, won by daylight. Tapsational, who was second that day, came back to run second to a pretty good-looking Cassie horse in an allowance race here last Sunday. So again, I think Scalding is in good form for Shug McGahee. We'll see if we get that 12-1. That may be a little generous on the morning line. I will certainly take it. A couple of horses in here, Cheryl Spite and Wolfie's Dynaghost, to me are both interesting, and I wouldn't argue against somebody playing them because they tried the dirt. They seem a little bit better on the turf, though, and have been on the turf recently. They're both interesting to me. I didn't put them in the mix, but I certainly, as I say, wouldn't talk anybody out of them. But I put Scalding over Dynamic One. Dynamic One and Greatest Honor adds some intrigue to the day because they both showed some talent early in the career on the 3-year-old scene last year. They both come back off fairly long layoffs and make 4-year-old debuts. I could have gone kind of either way with these two, but I put Dynamic One over Greatest Honor underneath. Going to be fun to see. Though these are probably be the two horses that will take the action, be the ones to beat. But I thought Scalding was a little bit interesting, and maybe, again, the 12-1 might be generous, but maybe we'll get a price. I will mention for Syracuse fans, Syracuse graduates like myself, folks may remember Hidden Stash ran in the Kentucky Derby last year and had a little buzz because Jim Boeheim, Syracuse coach, owns a small piece of Hidden Stash. That wasn't, even though I'm true blue orange, I could not pull the trigger on Hidden Stash, but I tossed that out there just as a side note. The 8th at Tampa, the Challenger, 8-4, 3-9. Tampa's a 9th race, the Florida Oaks, again, scheduled for the grass. We will keep our fingers crossed. Should it go on the dirt, I have it 7, 6, 4, and 5. Again, on the dirt, I'll use a little love and luck from Mike Deeney, coming off a decent try in the dirt last time. So on the dirt in the 9th at Tampa, 7, 6, 4, and 5. Should it stay on the turf, 5, 7, 8, and 9. I thought Sweet Duchess at 10-1 on the morning line was kind of interesting. Tried the turf in the last two starts and just seems to, like, you know, in career starts number 6 and 7, they figured out the right surface. And I thought this horse was a little bit of a player. You know, days like this, it seems like one or two of the stakes races, some locals will jump in and get things done. So this one being based down there with Kathleen O'Connell having the good meet, I'll put that one in. And then underneath my top dirt pick, but I'm going to use it on the turf as well. Mike Deeney, as I said, with a little love and luck, another trainer based down there. So we'll see if the locals can make a little noise in the Florida Oaks, should it stay on the turf. On the turf in the Florida Oaks, the 9th, 5, 7, 8, and 9. But on the dirt, 7, 6, 4, and 5. Tampa's 10th is the Columbia, again, scheduled for the turf. Should it go on the dirt, I have a 3, 7, 10, and 2. Kitten Mischief has some decent dirt for him that makes sense to go in that direction should it move surface. So again, Tampa 10th, if it goes to the dirt, 3, 7, 10, and 2. On the turf, 6, 3, 8, and 2. I thought the 5 was maybe playable as well for Christophe Clement. But I'll use Fort Washington on top, Shug McGahee runner. They put in a couple of starts last year, September and November. Ran decently. The Dam herself was a winner on turf in America and France for the same connections. The numbers are maybe a little bit lighter than we'll need today. I'm not even sure about that. But I think it's one of those that, with only the 2 starts last year as a 2-year-old now coming back, I think we can see an improved performance. The workouts are okay, so I'll tilt in that direction. Then I'll use Kitten Mischief, my dirt pick, but I think this one could be a little bit interesting. It seemed they tried to get to turf in the debut, didn't, and then it seems like they said, you know what, maybe we have a dirt horse. So they tried the Sam Davis. That was, you know, a failed experiment, so I think now they're getting back to the surface that they always wanted to, so we'll put that one in the mix as well. The 10th at Tampa, should it go on the dirt, 3, 7, 10, and 2. Should it go out, stay on the turf, 6, 3, 8, and 2. The 11th is the Tampa Bay Derby, mile and a 16th for the 3-year-olds, grade 2 event, $400,000 up for grabs. I'm going to go 8-4, 3-11. And I'm rooting for the 9, and I wouldn't talk anybody off of Shipsational, the New York bred, because that horse looked really good in the Sam Davis. But I thought Major General for Todd Pletcher could be interesting. Maybe the horse will need one before we get back to top form. But 2 for 2 last year as a 2-year-old in August and September. A little bit of a layoff is maybe a concern, but also could come back improved. Workouts seem pretty good. It's Todd Pletcher on the Derby Trail. I'll go with Major General on top. Classic Causeway is clearly going to be the one to beat off the really spectacular looking effort in the Sam Davis. And Happy Boy Rocket looks to be an interesting player at maybe a price for Bill Mott. Same barn came over with Candyman Rocket and won the Sam Davis in 2020 after a 7th and a maiden special weight and then a win to break the maiden in the first 2 starts of the career. So we have kind of a similar setup here today heading into the Tampa Bay Derby for these connections. So a player today. In the 11th at Tampa, 8-4, 3-11. And finally, the 12th and final at Tampa, again, scheduled for the turf. Now, it wouldn't surprise me that I'm sure they will do everything they can to stay on the turf for the stakes. Wouldn't shock me if this one came off, though. Should it come off 13, 12, 2, and 4. Again, in the finale, we'll use the main track only on top. 13, 12, 2, and 4. Should it stay on the turf, 4, 9, 7, and 12. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this edition of the Handicappers Report. As I say, kind of a little hybrid given the weather situation and the cancellation at Aqueduct. We called an audible here late. Do want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship of this program, some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Thanks for their support. Certainly, Gulfstream Park. Do want to remind you there are a couple of promotions here at Capital OTB. And I know tomorrow's the match bet today. Play the board. The control room reminded me. I knew there was 2 promotions. Play the board today and the match bet tomorrow. If you do venture out today and stop by the Clubhouse Racebook, you can enjoy the Play the Board tomorrow match bet right here, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, put my earphone in so I can hear our guests and kick things off in a couple of minutes for Racing Across America. So thanks for tuning into the Handicappers Report. Don't forget, if you didn't get a chance to write down the selections, you can catch them all at capitalotb.com. Click on the handicapping link and then the Handicappers Report. Nice printable sheet with all the selections, my selections. Today I had Aqueduct on there. But still, Tampa and Oaklawn should be on the sheet as well for today. Brian has Gulfstream Park. So again, you can pick that up via the website, capitalotb.com. I'm going to wrap it up, put a bow on it, but we will be back in just a couple with this Saturday's edition of Racing Across America. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.